relax, grab a coffee, some popcorn. This one is going to be interesting.
Welcome to the third installment of Beyond the Politics. I am your host and your favorite member of Verbum, Ben Krause. Today I'm joined by Conor, aka Cowboy Conor on TikTok. How you doing, Conor?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Great to hear, great to hear. If you're new here, how we run the show is we go through a weekly briefing, then a story of the week, then an interview. This week, the story of the week is climate change and wildfires, and the interview is with MJ and Jonah, revolving around the Yemen situation and the Yemen Charity live stream that we hosted. Diving right into some COVID news, as of September 17th, there are 6.65 million cases in the United States with around 200,000 deaths. Worldwide, we've reached the 30 million total cases marks with almost a million deaths. Some vaccine news for COVID. Leading Maryland health officials say that it'll be at least 6 to 8 months before the coronavirus vaccine can be distributed in the best case scenario. This doesn't mean the vaccine will be made in 6 to 8 months. It means the logistics in distributing it may take a long time. Now into some international news. Yoshihide Suga is now the Prime Minister of Japan, succeeding Shinzo Abe after he resigned due to health concerns. Putin and Alexander Lukashenko, Belarus's president, met on Monday to secure more loans and political support after protests entered its sixth week in Belarus. The protests are about the rigged election. Updating the story on Alexei Navalny from Russia, he's now able to temporarily get out of his hospital bed for short periods of time. Long-term damage could not be ruled out, however. Hey guys, it's Ben. We're recording this a day after the recording for the podcast. Something really big happened, and we have to put it in. So for those of you that don't know, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg sadly passed away this Friday due to metastatic cancer of the pancreas. The court said that Ginsburg died at her home in Washington, surrounded by family. And Chief Justice John Roberts said, quote, "Our nation has lost a justice of historic stature. We at the Supreme Court have lost a cherished colleague. Today we mourn, but with confidence that future generations will remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg as we knew her, a tired and resolute champion of justice." So basically what this means is this election just got a lot more meaningful and serious. They're going to be voting or appointing a justice to fill her seat, which is going to be a very hard task because she is one of the most well-known and historic members of that justice. So we send out our condolences to her family, and rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Here's a short ad break before we continue. Did you like the music in the beginning? Because we definitely think so. Special thanks to Tane for making the music. He's extremely talented, and if you want to learn more about what he does, follow his Instagram at TaneyBeats. That's TAINEYBEATS. Again, that's TAINEYBEATS. Diving right into the story of the week, we have the West Coast wildfires. And for those that don't know, on August 18th, Governor Gavin Newsom of California declared a state of emergency for the entire state of California and, of course, the whole West Coast. President Trump later on the 22nd followed up by issuing a major disaster declaration for 6 counties in California. So how did these start? Well, you can't pinpoint one act that caused the wildfires. It's more like a chain of events that made this fire season unbearable. Some of the events that happened were power lines falling, lightning strikes, and the most known reason was a gender reveal. This gender reveal wildfire now has burned around 10,000 acres. And I guess the question that I'd ask you, Conor, is do you think that this unbearable fire season on the West Coast is linked to climate change?
100%. Climate change is definitely responsible here. So oftentimes, we're pointing out natural causes of the fire, such as this gender reveal, but we cannot let it take attention away from the real deep-lying problem here, and that is, in fact, climate change. So climate change quite obviously leads to hotter temperatures, not in all cases, but in California, when the soil dries out and precipitation is not dependable, the plants are essentially a tinderbox. And that's why we're seeing these fires rage much worse than previous years. And we really need to highlight this scientific research and really make sure we understand the cause of not just these California fires, but fires all across the globe right now, and global warming's impact on that.
Yeah, and I think what people need to realize is that these wildfires happen almost every year. Well, they do happen every year. There's a fire season, and it only seems that the mainstream media likes to talk about it when something like this gender reveal pops up, and that's the only thing that you'll really see on mainstream media right now. Like, oh, gender reveal has started this wildfire. But as you said, it's been this trend that the world is warming, and it's making this West Coast more of a breeding ground for these fires, as you said.
Right. And again, the argument that you often hear is, oh, it's man-made. Stop calling it climate change when it was in fact a gender reveal party. And I'm not actually talking about how the fire was started here. I'm talking about the environment that the fire is in and how the fire is able to spread due to these altered conditions, being warmer, drier temperatures. So we're surpassing 2 million acres here this year, and that's surpassing 2018. And it's just ridiculous. So Los Angeles County hit a record of 121 degrees, and Death Valley 130 degrees. So that's the highest temperature ever reliably recorded on planet Earth. So these are some very scary statistics coming out right now, and it's just simply not true, or it's not factual to just disassociate climate change and these fires. Even though they were started by humans, it's all about how the fires are spreading in the environment that they are in.
Yes, and another thing that has peaked throughout these wildfires is air pollution. So and air quality. So air quality right now is terrifyingly bad. It's very bad. You measure air quality on the AQI, and the AQI is basically this air quality thermometer, and it gives you a number, and the larger the number, the worse the air quality you have. So some parts in Middle California are exceeding the AQI. Places like Yosemite are hitting 561, which is 61 points higher than the hazardous zone of the AQI. But get this, once you go to the village of Yosemite, the AQI hits 746, which is extremely hazardous. And there's many other places on the West Coast right now that are in the hazardous, very unhealthy, and unhealthy zone on the AQI, which is between 150 to 500. Which and that's what people also don't understand. It's all about the fires and stuff, but air quality is something that affects a lot more people. People in the middle of the United States, in the right of the United States, because air quality can shift. So I think that's something else the mainstream media needs to hit on.
Yeah, especially so with the air quality. I'm here in Washington State right now, and my lungs are already hurting. And this is what I think day 5. The smoke came in a matter of literally 15 minutes. We drove to pick up my mom from the airport. We got back home. We left our windows open, and our house was just full of smoke. And what I've actually been reading about, and of course more and more will come out about this, but kind of the impact of smoke that actually makes you more susceptible for COVID. And when your lungs are in this bad situation and people who are diagnosed with COVID, this is just a perfect storm for kind of disaster. So just really highlighting the actual health risk of these fires, not just the forest that is being burned.
So we see these trends in air quality happening in other places. 555 in Colorado, 156, 168 in Montana. Do you think air quality could be linked to climate change as well?
100%. So I would phrase it more as kind of the factors that cause climate change. This fossil fuel production kind of correlate more direct. So it's kind of in that step in between the gases and when they get in our atmosphere, right? And of course, temperature plays a part in it, and when temperature is fluctuating at a higher level, global warming is not just warming; it also can lead to extreme colds, and that affects winds and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we do see a change in air quality. If it's a dry, humid environment, we will see a different air quality, and that is connected to the climate. And that's just another thing. I want to harp this over and over again. There is so much involved with climate change. It is not just warmer temperatures, and we'll get into that a little bit later as well.
Yeah. So speaking on that climate change, people keep blaming these like we said earlier, blaming these wildfires on the gender reveal, on these things that man-made things, and they keep denying the fact that that climate change becoming a breeding ground or helping lead to a breeding ground for these fires. Do you think there's any way, like in the future, that we can help make these fire seasons more bearable?
Yeah, so for one thing is the United States has a really strong history of trying to prevent burns. And then that's a combination of controlled burns or even, I mean, in the past, I think we've actually taken a very raw approach, and we've modified this. But just fires are bad. That's kind of like what the thought was. But the truth is, if you don't let these fires run through, you're just prepping for a really bad fire eventually. And that's what Trump's comments he has criticized the vegetation management in California. His claims are not exactly clear. He never specified exactly what they were doing wrong. It's not fair to place vegetation management at blame. Of course, I've talked about how climate change is involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we do have to just really listen to science and listen to research about what is the normal, natural pattern of wildfires, and make sure we're not, first of all, burning it off too much, or we're letting these fires burn through safely in order to keep this natural process, being a wildfire, as natural as we possibly can. Again, I'll say that again. It's when you prevent fires for a long period of time, let's say around like a residential area, you are putting that area at risk eventually for when a fire does get there and you can't stop it. That vegetation has been accumulating and it is essentially a tinderbox. And that's kind of what we're seeing in California. It is a misplay by suppressing certain burns, and there's a lot at stake. But I just want to say that we as humans have made some just straight up mistakes when it comes to managing wildfires, and we're continuing to improve our understanding on that.
And I think why we need to manage, quote unquote, manage these wildfires, like when they're like the natural ones, of course, is because of climate change. They're getting worse. So it all correlates back to that point that we're both trying to stress, is that this is the work of climate change, and we do need to take it very seriously,
Yeah, exactly. And I actually want to talk a little bit about another thing that I do here. So I've talked about before how people are saying it's man-made, and I've just explained why. That yes, the fires are started by man, but climate change actually, and what we're talking about climate change being involved here, we're actually talking about how the fires are spreading. But I want to talk about kind of differentiating a natural process from a problem. So an example that I'm thinking of is coral bleaching. If you're not familiar with this term, I definitely recommend researching it, but it's similar to wildfires in the sense that it is a natural process. So we've seen the Great Barrier Reef in Australia have a lot of trouble with coral bleaching, and a lot of deniers of climate change or stuff like ocean acidification and all these processes that are technically natural but are occurring at an unnatural rate. And just really understanding that natural processes are not just exempt from harm's way. They can be negative. That's what we're seeing with wildfires. Yes, wildfires happen. I've heard the argument, oh, but they're healthy. They're healthy for the environment. Yes, but not in this, not this intensity of wildfires, not this frequency of wildfires. Even environments that are dependent upon fires to reproduce, or several species depend on the fires. We've seen over and over again, they can't handle this amount of fire. Period. And coral bleaching, another natural process. A lot of deniers will bring up, oh, well, this happened for millions of years. Okay, but now we've introduced new factors. The pH of our ocean is changing. It is becoming more acidic due to the intake of CO2. And that is increasing the rate of coral bleaching. These are natural processes, but they are being altered by humans, period. So they are still a problem. If they're a natural process, it can still be a problem. That's my point.
Yeah, and like you said, in 2018, California had their worst wildfire year yet, and we have almost surpassed that. So, like you said, yes, fires can be good in an ecosystem, but too much fire is too much fire. So it gets to the point where when there's too much wildfires happening, especially the ones that are due to climate change, we need to step back as a country and think about how we got here and how can we help in the future making these wildfires, I guess I would phrase it as more natural. Do you think that's a fair?
I think that is completely fair. Again, you can't take away fire, and you can't just let fire do its thing, because now we have that new introduction, a new enemy, which is climate change. So we can't leave it, and we can't intervene too much. We got to find that perfect median, and that's the problem with these natural processes. They are natural, but it is so difficult to keep them natural in today's day and age. And there are so many factors, and every single factor has to be accounted for. I was talking earlier, like a lot of the fires in California were in fact man-made. But again, there's also research. There's a study that was published by NASA about how in Alaska, the temperature fluctuations due to climate change that we've never seen before are triggering more lightning strikes. And the lightning strikes in Alaska, at least, are responsible for a lot of the fires. So again, there's different environments. There's different factors at play. The truth is that a lot of things are going wrong right now. And the approach is not to just point fingers and deny things and say, oh, it's because of humans here. Oh, it's because of forest mismanagement here. Look for common trends, and the common trend is that climate change is increasing the intensity of these fires, and that's the issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and like you said, lightning strikes have increased, and they were the starting point for one of these major fires this year. I guess I'd like to ask you a question because you brought this up. Is there anything that we can do as normal civilians to help with climate change? And overall, it would be helping with the wildfires.
Yeah, so that's an excellent point. So there's so many things you can do to change your lifestyle. A big thing is cutting out red meat. And again, this is all, you can do a lot of personal research on your own about what you can do. But I will say that a lot of the pollution, I don't have the statistic right off my head, but you can totally just Google this. Big corporations are responsible for a lot of this pollution, period. So, like the civilians, we can limit our one-time plastic use. We can use water bottles. We can avoid one-use products. And this will, decrease landfill waste, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is that a lot of this pollution is from big corporations, and therefore the biggest impact you can have is on your ballot. And that's what I always say, it is on your ballot. So, assess your political candidates' environmental policies, and that is actually the biggest impact you have, because those are the people that are going to be putting regulations on these big corporations, and making sure they are in check. But that's not saying that you can't reduce your own environmental footprint, bike more, eat less meat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a million things you can do, and that is still being super proactive, and that's awesome. The ballot is your best, way to help.
And definitely that's where it really all comes down to it. Put someone in office that you think will fit your environmental needs, because I think that this year, or for the years to come, the environment is one of the most important issues. Whether you think climate change is even real or not, I think it's one of the most important issues, and you can see this with these wildfires. So definitely vote for the person that you think has the better. Put your environmental policies first.
100%. Like, if you are pro-life or pro-choice, if you support All Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter, it is important that you recognize the threat that we're facing right now, that is literally closing in on us on literally every single front. Whether you like it or not, the world is going to drastically change. I'm not saying we're too late to these problems, but we are late enough that we are going to have to make some serious sacrifices in the future. And whether you deny it or you accept it or you choose who to trust, that is your choice and your right. But I just would definitely encourage doing your own research and getting educated on this. It can be depressing. It can definitely be depressing. And I just encourage you to stay as optimistic as possible, because unfortunately, the more research you do, the more disturbing it gets. And that's the situation I'm in. But I will continue to be optimistic, because I do see solutions. But it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of people on board. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. And to end this on kind of a happier note, I guess, I'd like to thank all the firefighters, because as of September 17th, there's still over 17,000 firefighters on the front lines of these wildfires. So I think Conor and I can speak for Conor on this too, but we both thank all of them for risking their lives with these wildfires.
100%, yep.
Yeah. So
Seriously.
that is it for this. That is it for the story of the week. Thank you for coming on, Conor. You were a very smart individual. And,
yeah, thank you so much.
And we'll be moving on to the interview portion. Welcome to the interview portion of the podcast. I'm joined here by MJ and Jonah. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good and happy we raised all that money. That was dope event over the weekend on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, so before we get into the depth of the interview, which is of course Yemen and the charity live stream, I just want to ask you guys some like corny questions. And how'd you guys get into politics?
Well, my story with politics is like inherently tied to my origins, right? I mean, I am Algeria, a country in North Africa that's not the most stable of countries. We've had a civil war, we've had terrorism, we've had issues with regards to a dictator. And I guess like growing up in such political turmoil, and especially after like being able to escape and come to the US, kind of made me enter politics through a forceful way, because it's kind of necessary to do so, because I was given the opportunity to escape from political turmoil. I might as well try to fix said political turmoil. So that's why I'm into politics.
Yeah, how about you, Jonah?
I don't have anything nearly as interesting as that, but I've just grown up in DC. So I actually live very close to the Capitol, and for my entire life, I've like interacted with politicians, and I've seen them walking around, and my parents have been involved with it and talked about it to me. And even at like the 5th grade, I used to go in with my mom and make calls with the DNC, and I didn't really know what was going on. But as I got older, and as someone, as you guys, if you're familiar with me, you know that I'm a fairly argumentative person. So that was something that I took interest in, and like wanted to like get more knowledge on so that I could argue about it better. And it like, you know, like it was always like fulfilling for me to like be able to substantiate my opinions and convince other people of things that I thought were right. So I guess I've grown into politics as I've grown into who I am as a person. And now I have much more like developed opinions on things, but it's just always kind of been a part of my life.
Yeah, for sure. So how'd you guys get into political TikTok specifically?
Political TikTok? Well, first things first was I actually had my own podcast, which like flunked, right? Because I can't handle listening to other people talk. I like to be the one talking. So that didn't work out. And I asked the Neutral House to actually, promo it for me. And eventually, after some time, I actually got accepted into the Neutral House. And I got more of a TikTok presence through Lawrence, bruh. Lawrence gets political on TikTok. That man knows everybody on the political TikTok realm. He added me to a couple of group chats, a couple of Zooms. Fast forward 3-4 months later, and I'm here now. And we did some great things with the audiences we were able to cultivate.
Yeah. How about you, Jonah?
Bro, honestly, I was with my homie in chemistry class, and this man pulls up a Nick Videos TikTok, and I saw that man had 150K followers. I said, hell no. No offense, Nick, but the video was about how trans people are not real. And it was like, I'm sorry, but you are a man. If you were born a man, you are a man. And immediately I got on my account and I duetted that. And since then, I've just been making videos. I don't know. Sometimes I lack motivation, but I just enjoy it. I enjoy the discourse that comes with it, and I enjoy talking to the people in the community. So I guess that's why I've stuck with it, even though that was initially my catalyst.
Yeah. Okay, now we can get into the depth of the interview. Of course, Yemen. So for the people that don't know what's going on in Yemen, do you guys want to explain that?
MJ, you probably have a better grasp, and I'll add anything.
Yeah, so what's happening in Yemen is there's been a civil war since like 2015 between the Houthi rebels and then the government, right? And so the Houthi rebels get their support from Iran, and the government gets their support from Saudi Arabia. Think of it as like the Cold War, but specifically towards the Middle East. Now, Saudi Arabia is being helped by the US. Iran gets help from Russia. So it tends to really go out into a more proxy war. So instead of actually these countries manning up and fighting each other, they tend to use Yemen as their little puppet. And I mean, they're using 22 million people in starvation as chess pieces in a broader game of geopolitics. The United Nations calls it the worst humanitarian crisis since 1945, and it's constantly getting worse and worse and worse. And the U.S. is complicit in their actions, as is Russia, as is the broader world. And as such, I believe that it was necessary for us, political TikTokers, to take more of a stronger stance with regards to Yemen. And instead of saying, oh, let's just spread awareness through posting a TikTok. Let's actually do something. And that's why we created the stream.
Yeah, and like some of the, I mean, that's a fantastic explanation, but I just have one thing about like why the crisis is so severe. Yemen does not have like extremely developed infrastructure, and a lot of the food and water, or a lot of the food and oil that's used to pump water in Yemen, is transported through a specific port that the United States is funding the Saudi government, which is blocking off the port. I believe it's at Hodeidah. And the food crisis has gotten so severe because they have an inability to import food. So like this is a situation where like more like complex like transportation and infrastructure networks are necessary in order to get people food and water, because they're literally being blocked off partially by the Saudis, partially by our own government. So it's obviously, as MJ said, one of the most severe crises of our lifetime. But it's like we've made it even worse, and we not only is it something that like we felt we needed to bring attention to, but also address, because we do have some power over this, especially given the privileges that we have to be participating in the state that's doing the bad things rather than being the victims of the state that's doing the bad things.
Yeah. So you MJ, you kind of already talked about how you came up with the charity stream idea, but was there any like certain like point that you were like, oh, this needs to happen, or like how did you like just come up with the charity stream idea?
Actually, Jonah was there when the first light bulb came off in my head. It was, oh my god, if I'm not mistaken, well, I always had inklings of doing something, some sort of charity organization, because the second that I hit like a certain amount of followers, and the second I joined so many groups, I saw that, yeah, we were doing a lot, educating people, but I saw a lack of actual like work beyond that. Like, I mean, some people did do a lot more beyond that, and that was really good of them. But like, I think the first real time where I talked about it with other people on TikTok, because it was always just like a shower thought. But then the first time I talked about it with other people on TikTok was the POC Republicans group chat, where I texted in that group chat. I was like, wait, I just had a weird idea. Let's do a Yemen live stream, right? And then everybody was like, yeah, let's do it. And this was like a month ago. And then it was my original plan was to bring on hype houses, right? Like multiple different hype houses, and then do something from there. Let's just say the conservative side of TikTok was not very keen on the idea of raising money for Yemen. But thank God, like I have a great group of friends like Jonah, like Nabila, Sophia, Lily, all these people, like Sarah. All these people did great things, helped me out. And even some more conservative people like Bean and Alex, who both like just came together to sort of help it. And I think that's when I realized like we can do a lot with what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, MJ obviously brought the idea up to me, and it was cool. MJ, I like he's one of the people that just makes things work, and you could tell. So as soon as he said, I knew it was about to happen and be fire. And like obviously there were a few road bumps. I'm not gonna say who, but so certain people were like, we'd prefer to focus on American issues, and I was like,
certain people also on open.
but
yeah, not everybody's as keen as
but no, it was cool seeing I mean, look, this is what
it showed us their true nature though, Jonah, huh?
What?
It showed us some people's true nature.
For sure. But, no, it's cool. I always say this. There's a level of like ideological disagreement that I have with lots of people, and for all the people on the stream, all the ideological disagreement, it was cool that we could come together and recognize that this is something that should not be happening, that the United States funding this humanitarian crisis, or even any other government in the world funding this humanitarian crisis, should not be happening. It was cool to see a bunch of creators come together. But for those who said this is not an American issue, so we don't care, that was really shocking. But MJ just brought it up to me, and I was like, I know this is about to happen and be fire. So I mean, he did most of the work setting it up, but I was just happy to participate as soon as he told me about it.
Yeah. MJ, he can get ideas done. Like it's crazy what he can get done. But so you might think this is a stupid question, but do you think that the Yemen situation is a partisan thing? and why?
Go ahead.
You got it.
I think Jonah touched on this a little bit, and no, it's not. It's not partisan to care about human rights. It's not partisan to care about 22 million people suffering starvation. It's not partisan to care about children that can't have access to basic medical needs. If that is partisan, then one side of the political discussion is not the right side of the political discussion to be discussing values and moralities. And I'm not going to get into which side that was, but let's just say, if you're truly pro-life, then you would be pro-life with regards to Yemen as well. And I guess seeing that sort of partisan divide go that much into the level where it didn't ruin because we went around it, but it definitely was a roadblock with regards to getting some people on the stream. And I guess that kind of hurt. And,
yeah. There are certain things like this that I don't know why they're partisan, and that's what's always shocking to me, because I know that I sometimes put on a show when I debate people. I do this I'll destroy you. I talk fast. I do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, for stuff like this, when you see something like that happening, it's just a matter of basic human decency. It's the difference between seeing someone get beat up in the schoolyard and telling them to stop versus being well, it's not my right to intervene. You have an opportunity to do something good, and that's essentially undeniable. And even if you agree with the causes for the war, which you absolutely should not, that's indefensible. But even if you do, the millions of children that are starving because of it, the millions of families that don't have food or water because of it, the people that are struggling to get to tomorrow because of it, you the fact that you won't come together and say we need to be doing something about this severe crisis, regardless of what the causes are, regardless of how much a country deserves it, the individual humans within the country, the citizens, the civilians don't deserve it. And I think it's crazy that people didn't want to come together and say that, but I don't think that this should be something that's partisan. I think that this should be an apolitical issue, something that we talk about in terms of our shared humanity, rather than what it can get us. Because a lot of the time, politics becomes this one-upping game. But I think this is something that's just too important for that type of thought process or behavior.
Yeah. I agree. So now we can kind of get into the stream. So do you guys want to talk about what the structure and the format of the stream was?
Man, it was organized chaos, bro. We had a little bit of everything. It fit well together.
I don't even know how. Jonah was getting mad at me, right? Because I had an itinerary set up, right? And he was like, "Who has an itinerary for a live stream, bro?"
Bro, yeah, no, because you just gotta let it go.
The second the stream started, it just left like that.
Yeah, and then we got the $1,000 donation. We were supposed to build up and try and incentivize people to donate more, but we were already doing all the spins. But I don't know.
Donated after that. I mean, we still got $1,000.
Oh yeah,
after that $1,000.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask about that one. You kind of just brought me right to it. So, what ran through your mind when that 1,000 donation came in?
I mean, you can see on the stream what went through my mind. I mean, I literally screamed, "Oh my god!" That's insane. And Jonah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was geeking, bro. Whoever that was, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because we spent a lot of time putting that stream on, and not only that, but you I mean, it's a good possibility you literally saved 9-10 people's lives just because of that.
No, it's not even a good possibility. $1,000 right now with the $3,000 that we have, we're impacting between 50 to 70 families, right? And you're talking Arab families, so you're talking 7 to 10 people per family.
Yeah.
That money, that's a third. So she or he could have literally impacted almost 100 people's lives.
Yeah.
Forever. And just that amount of just self-sacrifice, honestly, that's the real hero of the live stream. Not you, not anybody else.
I was just geeked when I saw that. I was oh my goodness. I was not expecting that. But I mean, it was definitely a good feeling. It was definitely gratifying to know that people messed with our mission that much and understood what we were trying to convey in that moment.
Yeah. And MJ, you talked about your $3,000 mark. How did you guys feel after that? After you hit your $3,000 mark that you guys set?
If you see the live stream, let's just say I got emotional, man. Like that's really honestly, the original mark was supposed to be $2,500, and I'm gonna be honest with everybody at home. I was not expecting us to hit $2,500. I was literally worried, and I think I told people in the Yemen, because we had a Yemen chat, right? I told people in the Yemen chat, I was like, I don't think we're gonna hit $2,500. And then Stixie on TikTok messaged back and saying, I'll make sure we hit $2,500. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, Dixie was dope too. I had never talked with him before. That man is hilarious. Bro, when he played the song on his eye, I was like, what? Like he was like, I'm gonna play a song on stream, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. This man said, just pulled out his eye, started strumming that joint. Like, nah, but that man is cool. Like everyone who participated, both like the people that are like classic political TikTokers that are like big in the community and hype houses and stuff, and people like Stixie who just came, and Eric wasn't even like in it until the very last minute. And we just organized that right away. But like everyone that came through was dope. It was an amazing experience, and everyone there, I messed with them heavy as a person, not just
hitting $3,000 with people that I genuinely would consider not only like friends, but like after that experience, I'd probably consider most of them family as well. That's a gratifying experience, really.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm happy to be able to come out of it talking on this podcast about the fact that we hit $3,000 rather than coming into this podcast saying that we missed our mark and that could you guys please donate at the end. So
yeah.
It's
if people still want to donate, how can they do that?
If people still want to donate, it's very simple. Project Break the Cycle is the charity that we worked with. They gave an opening little speech at the beginning of the live stream, which you can probably see on the Verbum channel, so you can understand their charity better. You go to the donations tab, and you just hit the donation button, donate anything you can. If you guys also want, they make really cool merch, and 100% of the profit is donated towards Yemen. So if you guys want to get something back in return, that would also be a great way. I don't know if they've restocked on their merch yet or not, but they've got some really cool like hoodies and like sweatshirts that would look really cool. So if you guys still want to donate, and I mean, $3,000 is a lot, but it's a drop in the ocean with regards to actual like the crisis in Yemen as a whole. So if you guys still want to donate, visit Project Break the Cycle, and donate there.
Yeah. And I guess this is more of a media question. Why do you think the mainstream media isn't covering this crisis like more than it should?
Man, it doesn't sell. I mean, MJ, my man's from Algeria. I know that for over a year, I think there have been peaceful protests in Algeria, protesting the incompetence of the government and how they are not responsive or democratic. And the media doesn't cover that equal, man. Like Americans don't care about. They really don't care about people of other nationalities. We care about our geopolitical allies and our geopolitical enemies, and stuff that's not related to that just doesn't sell in America. And it's really sad, but like we're just desensitized to the fact that millions of brown children over in the Middle East are dying at our hands. And that's really what it comes down to. It's just not interesting enough for people. And like that's like it's a sad thing. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there needs to be a change in the way that we approach things and the way that we view things, but that's such a long process. But I hope that the younger generation coming up, we talk about these things and we make them important and we legitimize them and make sure that people understand and talk about them rather than talking about like the petty stuff that we see in the news every day. Like you turn on Fox News or CNN, you see something that's like highly politicized. Like if you turn on CNN, you'll see Trump talking about something that they like misquoting. If you turn on Fox News, you'll see them fear mongering about BLM. And like neither one of that is constructive when there are 20 million people at risk. It's just not as interesting to Americans. And I think that it's a cultural shift and it's a media shift that needs to occur. But like that's something that like not just like America, but the entire world needs to work on. We don't empathize with people that are different from us.
I'd like to add on to that a little bit, but like I agree 100% with what he said, right? But like we have to understand that like the US is not only is it that it's not like sellable specifically with regards to US media, the US is complicit. We can't act like the U.S. has some sort of separate gain in this. They don't. The U.S. is complicit. If I'm not mistaken, the number for the amount of airstrikes in Yemen is about 20,100 airstrikes, right? Of which come from the Saudi-led coalition, of which the U.S. accounts for a vast amount of. And on top of that, we supply arms to Yemen to allow them the ability to bomb these children. So I guess like not only is it that it doesn't sell, that it doesn't provoke anger, rather it provokes sadness, and sadness just doesn't sell in the media market. But also, to discuss the Yemen situation, you can't in good faith discuss the Yemen situation without discussing the U.S.'s actions that led to the Yemen situation. Mm-hmm. And I don't think major news networks want to talk about why the U.S. is a war criminal.
Yeah. I mean, it's all interdependent. Like the military-industrial complex works for the politicians, and the politicians work with the media companies in order to promote. It's not necessarily an agenda. It's just like the sad like reality that we continue to live in. But we keep signing deals with Saudi Arabia. The politicians are funded by like Raytheon and Boeing and stuff, and they want these deals, and they want to keep funding them. So the media companies obviously have an incentive to not cover it, and it's sad. Like it's like, and honestly, this specific situation is about Yemen, but like people need to start paying attention to the narrative of Americanism that's pushed in all, or like American exceptionalism and like nationalism that's pushed in all of our media, because we really don't realize it. Like we make fun of other countries for the exact same thing, but we have all these like ideas about this like idyllic and like perfect America that just are not in reality. That do not coincide with reality. We are the terrorists in a lot of situations. We are the aggressors. We are the states that is going in and destabilizing democratically elected governments. We're not like some like beacon of freedom and hope in the world. Like if you go to other countries, they view us as this, and like the media companies can't cover us this way because then they won't be able to continue to satisfy their viewers. And it's cyclical, but we need to work as a generation to talk about it and make sure we publicize these things. And so eventually one day the media companies have an incentive to sell us something that isn't like that.
Which gets me into my point with regards to why I believe, like, I know this is going to be a bit off topic, but this is why I believe political TikTok is such a strong, like, I guess people look at us, right, and they see Jonah. How many followers do you have, Jonah?
I have about 20,000 right now.
Yeah, they see like Jonah 20,000, me with my 1,000, but like they just see us and they're like, what are these kids doing on a social media app talking about politics? And this is why. Because the politicians have failed us. The boomers have failed us. Generation X has failed us. And it's taken that we've had to take things into our own hands and discuss within ourselves about political action. I mean, I genuinely believe that anybody that watches any of our content is probably smarter than their parents with regards to politics and with regards to theoretical and economic and social politics as a whole. And this sort of like education of our new generation is what is so great about political TikTok, because like we're generating, regardless of whether or not you believe the right or the left, or this really is bipartisan, but both sides are just getting smarter. And I can't wait to see what this new generation does with this newfound knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we talked about that in our last episode, me and John, about political TikTok. So I totally agree, MJ. So I guess our last question to like kind of end on like a happier note, I guess, is like, what was your favorite moments of the stream?
Definitely Bean when he pulled up to McDonald's and said, "Cactus Jack in the." I'm keeping it clean. And then there was just the most awkward pause I had ever heard in my entire life. And then he goes, "I'll take the Travis Scott meal." And the guy clearly wage slave just goes, "Please don't do that next time." Like I was dying, bro. That was one of the funniest moments.
Oh my God. Honestly, I think I had two really funny moments. You weren't there, Jonah, because you had to leave early, but Eric shaving his head off completely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. If you rewatch that, genuinely some of the best moments ever. Like, this man was comparing himself to like MS-13. This man,
I saw a clip.
he
Yeah,
almost fought his roommate that was shaving his head off. It was an incredible moment. And then I think that and you eating that ghost pepper because you were crying and everybody was making fun of you because you had a tortilla for some reason.
Yeah, because the tortilla helps. The spice gets soaked up by the tortilla. It's like bread.
It does not. Nah.
Yes, nah. Look it up. Look at everyone watching this right now. I want you to go on your computer and look up best foods to help you deal with spice.
I did research before.
Bro, also, I could not find a ghost pepper. I was gonna eat a ghost pepper. That habanero was bad enough. Ghost peppers are 6 to 7 times as spicy as habaneros. So
no, you were crying.
Yeah, I don't think that would have ended well.
No, I looked it up before, and I was with my homie, and we were like, "Sorry, Izzy, I know I shouldn't say that, but I'm only half." But I was with my homie earlier, and like we were looking up research, and this man he's like, "Yo, like someone died from eating a ghost pepper because they were retching too hard, like they were going." And they tore their esophagus and they died. So I was like, yo, like the kids in Yemen better appreciate this one if I die for this. Sadly, I could not find a ghost pepper.
Oh my God. And then when I couldn't do the WAP dance.
I was going to say that was probably one of my favorite moments when you should have stretched.
Yeah, that was stretched. Funny, yeah. No, it was honestly such a great event, bro.
And then this man just like, Alex was a hoe for that. I'm so sorry. As much as I love Alex, he was a hoe for that. This man made me have a raw egg, mayonnaise, hot sauce, and orange juice mixed. Bro, my stomach had its own vibration.
Yeah, no, you were like, bro, I feel my heartbeat. You should have learned the dance, homie. You should have learned the dance.
I'll learn the dance next.
Yeah, no, but that stream, I got to hop on for a little bit. It was loads of fun. It really was. It was all good vibes, and it really was fun.
I was worried about it at the beginning because I thought it would be too hectic, or like it would get boring because people wouldn't be talking. But honestly, the entire time, like I did not. I was no cap. I was planning on staying for an hour, and I was just having fun, bro. Like it was just like we were just talking and flowing, and people kept donating, and it was just good vibes. Like I enjoyed that so much, bro.
I think Sarah was texting me, right? Because I was crying when the first donations came in, because it's just like you talk about it a lot, but when you see those numbers actually come in for the first time, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it's different, right? And I was crying. She says, bro, why are you crying? And I said, what? And she said, why are you crying? And I said, bro, we just started the live stream and I'm seeing donations. She's like, that's not an excuse. I was like,
nah, Sarah, that's my good man. I love Sarah, but she can be brutal.
No, I love her.
No, she's my favorite person I've known.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Sarah.
That's my wife.
Yeah, so Jonah kind of talked about this, but were either of you guys nervous before the stream?
I wasn't like nervous for myself, but I was nervous as to how it was gonna go, like how much we were gonna raise. But like I wasn't like I wonder like whether I'm gonna be like awkward or anything, because I know everybody on there, like I'm friends with everybody on there. But I was a tad bit nervous, but as soon as it started, bro, it all went away. I like we had 400 viewers, like we were popping off, like we were making jokes, chat was going crazy, we were getting hella donations. It was just like as soon as it started.
You know, like if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna check right now, but by the end of it, didn't we have like almost like 6K views total?
I think we had around that.
Yeah, we had a lot of views. Like, it was insane. With regards to the question you asked, I had like 3 panic attacks before it, like, and then like 2 anxiety attacks. Like, I couldn't. Most of them came from like just me thinking, what if we don't hit the goal? And then it came from me, like, I thought, like, because I was, some people were like not answering. So I was like, did I piss somebody off? Was I too pushy with people, etc.? Am I pushing too hard for this? Right? Like, am I pissing people? Am I using like my main thing was like, am I using people's like emotions? Like, am I abusing my like trust with people? Right? Or like my connections with people. So like that, all of those things combined together, and I had like so many anxiety attacks, panic attacks, etc. Like that whole day, combine that with like almost 4 days of no sleep, because I was contacting the people that I need to contact, talking to the legal team, talking to the project managers, making sure that the money's going to the right places. And yeah, it made for not stable mental health. Let's just say that. And again, I want to thank 2 people for really helping me out with this. Sophia Sofalo on TikTok. She really pulled through with like being able to just like give me an outlet to talk to. And Faith, actually, even though I make fun of her all the time, genuinely think Faith really came there when I needed to talk to somebody about my mental health. So I really thank both of them for allowing me, and I thank everybody for allowing me the ability to do so much good with the platform and the connections I have.
Yeah. So that's it for the interview. Do you guys have any final words that you want to leave the audience?
I'm gonna let Jonah speak on this first.
I just like to say thank you to everyone that came out to the stream. If you want to donate, there will be a link down in the description of this video. So we'd really appreciate any more donations. I'm sure there are people in Yemen that would appreciate it far more than me and MJ would. But yeah, just thank you all, and thank you, Ben, for having us on. We appreciate it, and I think that is it for me.
I just want to say, like, I know a lot of people try to give me credit, and I think Jonah did it a little bit. I did nothing, right? Like, genuinely, I say this all the time, and it's going to take some time before somebody realizes it. I did nothing. I donated $20 of my money. $2,980 came from you guys, and I'm so proud of the community for doing that. You guys are really changing lives. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Jonah. Thank you to everybody that was in the live stream, Nabila, Stixie, Ben, Kaz, Conor, etc. Like every single person that I can think of. Like all of you guys genuinely made it insanely profitable, and as such insanely good for the people in Yemen. I mean, specifically with regards to like how the project's going, I just want to give this little update at the end. The project will be finished in exactly 3 to 4 weeks. We're going to be giving 11 chickens to every single family in Yemen, like out of like between 50 to 70 families. And that's going to provide them with food and with an income for the next decade, or however long a chicken lasts. I don't know how long a chicken lasts.
You can also have more chickens too. So.
Yeah. And then those chickens actually tend to like quadruple. Yeah. The guy talked about this. He said like chickens like quadruple after time, or like etc. Right? So you're really creating a lot of money, a lot of income, and a lot of food for these people. And it's a great cause. Thank you to everybody that allowed me to do something like that. And I literally can't be more thankful.
Yeah. Also, big up to MJ. He's being too humble. That man did hella work and got this whole thing going. He came up with the idea, organized it, put us all in a group chat, got everyone to get their challenge on time. He reached out to the organization, found the organization. He did so much, bro. Like he's playing it down. But
I agree. I think at the end of the day, without MJ, that this would not have happened. Yeah, at least at this big of a scale. So we really do have to thank MJ. But
he deserves all the credit.
Yeah.
I really, again, I really don't like credit, but for the sake of the podcast, I'll accept it.
Yeah, just take it. Just take it.
Because I could. I mean, Jonah said he's an argumentative person, but he hasn't met me yet. I'll argue with you over whether or not I deserve the credit for this.
I will debunk you. I will. I will invent a new form of argumentation called raxiology that ignores everything that I don't like. This is not a reference to anything that anyone actually uses. That ignores everything that I don't like so that I can debunk you.
Neo-Austrians are typing.
Hey, I am a Neo-Austrian. Y'all see the thing on the screen, right?
They won't see it at home. But
We see it. Don't worry, we see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, MJ Jonah, thanks for joining us this week. It was a pleasure talking to both of you. Now, if you're listening on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on the latest episodes. If you're listening on Apple Music, give us a 5-star rating and give us a review. We read all of them. And just a reminder, you can also find the podcast on Spotify. See you all next week, and goodbye, everybody.
Behind the Politics is a Verbum production. I'm the show's producer and editor, Alan Yao. Ben Krause is your host, and Conor is this week's special co-host. Original music by Tane Dry, and thanks to our special guests, MJ and Jonah. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week.